Going into professional mode.
Right, good afternoon everyone. We are outside the Emirates, and for those of you that don't know, this is the home of the greatest football club called...
Arsenal.
Yes indeed, and Helena, you're an Arsenal fan?
Yeah.
So am I, and so is your dad Graham.
Yeah.
Now, I know Helena because of her dad Graham. I met him at Fergal O'Brien's yard. He's a big National Hunt fan, and he's a fellow Gooner. We went to the FA Cup final, which we won, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's crack on with your story, Helena. You've got a pretty inspiring story that I personally think can help a lot of people, maybe gain some confidence, raise some awareness to the condition that you have, and, just generally help other people who are suffering with certain factors. So rather than me asking you a load of questions, why don't you just take it away?
So I used to be a canoeist kayaker when I was 16, so 5 years ago. And I had a really minor accident, just capsized and banged my knee, basically. And I went to hospital because I couldn't walk. And they said, oh, you've just sprained it, you'll be fine in 2 weeks. And by a couple of months later, the physio wasn't working. So I kind of said, look, we need to do something about this. So I had MRI scans and stuff like that, and they all came back clear. So they were like, well, you've got muscle imbalance, you've got this, that, more physio, you need more directed physio. A year later, I'm still struggling with pain, but they're like, there's nothing wrong. So I'm still kayaking on it, which is probably not the best decision I ever made. And I'm coaching on it and everything. And then I had a steroid injection.
Into your leg?
Yeah, which is what they do because they thought it might settle down any inflammation. And 24 hours later, my knee was bright red. It looked like I'd been hit by a cricket ball really hard. It's swollen, it was really sensitive to touch, so any kind of clothes would set it off. And immediately the doctors were like, blood tests, is it infected, what's gone on, what's happened? To the point where he got the book out because blood tests were coming back clear, and he was just like, I really don't understand what's going on. But luckily he was quite good and he got his book out and he said, actually, this symptom works for this, this, this and this. And he said, I think you've got something called CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. It's complex because it has the nervous system involved. It's regional because it tends to affect a limb, but it can spread. And it's a pain syndrome because it's very painful. It's chronic pain, and it's a syndrome because it's a collective set of symptoms. It's a simple way of putting it. So I'm in pain constantly. I have varying levels of pain. So some days I'm bedbound, other days I'm walking around like today, or some days I'm on crutches, some days it's really variable, but I just have to take it day by day. And so I spent the whole of 2016 in a wheelchair, and I was in and out of hospital. I think I've been admitted to hospital nearly 20 times in the last 3 years for various things. And
Is that all?
Is that all? That's overnight stays. I've had far more appointments than that. So I spent most of 2016 sort of getting used to the idea of being disabled because I'd never considered myself disabled before that point. And it was a big shock to the system, all of a sudden the house wasn't safe and stuff like that. So massive adaptations had to be made. But me being determined and this has been my way of doing things. I said to my parents, which had been pre-organised, that I was going out to Kenya. And in June 2016 till July, I went out to Kenya and volunteered in a primary school in the middle of the Masai Mara. On crutches.
As you do.
As you do. So that gives you a flavour of the mad things I get up to, and that gave me a lot of confidence that actually I could still be that normal 19-year-old and do the things that effectively my peers were doing. Okay, they were doing it for 3 months rather than 2 weeks, but it sort of gave me that little bit of edge, and things started to improve a bit. And then I was so keen to get back on the water, and it was something I really missed. I was kayaking 6 days a week before this injury, and all of a sudden I couldn't do it. So I did a bit of research, had a word with a few people that I know that have got my condition or know people that have got disabilities, and I said, well, what are my options? I could do wheelchair racing, I could go to archery, I could dressage if you want to go into horsey world. And I knew about this charity called London Youth Rowing, who are based up at Victoria Docks by City Airport. And I did a bit of research, and I found out that British Rowing have a disabled access to that facility. So I sent off a couple of emails, and within a month I was back in a boat rowing with a group called the Royal Dolphins.
Right.
So that was October 2016.
Yeah.
I started off really slowly, so sometimes I wouldn't row for a month, like I'd do it once a month, and then gradually I got to know the group and got socially a bit more confident, and obviously a lot more confident in the boats and the facilities and the coaches. The coaches got to know me, and I spent the whole of 2017 like pushing myself physically, and it was amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Because when I started rowing, I was in a wheelchair, unable to walk. I could barely row for 30 seconds. By September of 2017, I could complete a 21.6 mile marathon down the Thames. And row.
Most people can't even run a marathon, and you're rowing it. And if you've ever rowed, it's far harder on water than it is running, believe me.
It isn't all about your upper body, it's a full body sport.
It is.
And so there were 6 of us in the boat.
Right. And
we've all got disabilities. They vary in intensity and like level, but we all have our own little struggles and stuff. And we decided I decided to fundraise for London Youth Rowing for the work that they do with us, because they don't, let's just say we don't pay much money to do it. So they put a lot of effort in and a lot of their time in, and the facilities are absolutely amazing. So we raised £665 for them.
Yep.
But the year before I'd actually raised over £1,000 for CRPS UK. So I knew what I was doing.
Yep.
I'd had a practice run. So for things like that, we did a soup lunch and I did a 5k wheelchair. So I've gone from doing a 5k wheelchair push to 21.6 miles in just under a year, which is pretty cool.
Pretty incredible.
And the following week after the river race, so most people would be stuck in bed, I moved into university in Gloucestershire.
As you do.
As you do.
Yeah.
Off crutches, didn't suffer particularly, and everyone was like, wait for the 4-week mark, because there'll be a relapse.
Right.
Never happened.
Yeah.
And then university, the first time was difficult, because it was like moving away from home, and I had all the usual difficulties a student would have when they first moved to university.
Yeah.
And obviously the academics and the new people and all of that. But obviously I had the added difficulty of CRPS.
Yeah.
And also previous experience and all other things. The first term I only admitted myself to hospital once, so that was quite impressive. Got through the first term, did pretty well academically, and then in January this year it started to go downhill. And let's just say the ambulance service were called out because I couldn't move. And at this point I was quite sensible. I told my friends and they were like, we can't have you here, it's not safe. So we have no option but to call the ambulance out. So we waited going on 4 hours for this ambulance to turn up. Obviously I wasn't like life-threatening, so you just have to wait.
Yeah.
But the ambulance crew didn't know what CRPS was. They weren't very accepting of what CRPS was. They weren't prepared to look it up either, even though they had a phone on them. So that was a bit difficult. And then the hospital weren't even that helpful. So I got out of there as quickly as one could. Went home, did a bit of recovery with my team here, and went back. And then in March, I had a relapse. But this time, I was stuck in bed. Couldn't get to food, couldn't get to water, so I phoned my friends and said, I think, we need to go to hospital. And the same thing happened, except this time I was in hospital for going on 7 days. And doctors were telling me it was psychological. They just wouldn't believe that I was in. So
they didn't believe you had this kind of debilitating pain.
Exactly. They were saying there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
They
Which
were
is
grabbing
incredible.
my legs.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with your legs. Why can't you move them? Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you.
So there's a real lack of knowledge about this condition.
Yeah. And on just general admitting that it exists.
Yeah.
It's fine that it's rare, so it's fine that they don't quite get it.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting there going, it's a chronic pain condition, it's neurological, it affects the nervous system, and they're going back, it's psychological.
Yeah.
anyone that knows vaguely about the human body, those are two different things. So it was really frustrating. Various things that, you know, they were promising me treatment that never happened. And so I actually ended up self-discharging. And again, I had to go home. The recovery was longer because they hadn't followed a plan that had been sent to them, and it was very stressful. My mum was driving back and forth, and so I spent a week at home, and as usual I pulled myself together and got back to university.
So you've got phenomenal willpower.
You have to with this condition. You can't you can't
allow it to govern your life.
Otherwise you're bedbound. So I went back to university and I did pretty well, got through to Easter and then went back. But what my family called end of termitis tended to set in with a lot of people. And some people got very stressed by the deadlines, and a lot of people didn't like the fact that during that Easter holidays I'd had a lot of media attention over my condition. So I was on Channel 5 News. Which
and everyone can find this on your blog.
Everyone can find this on my blog. So I have several blogs. I have Helena Journey at WordPress, on WordPress, or Helena's Journey on Blogspot. One's about Helena's Journey on WordPress is more fundraising, awareness raising for everything, and then my Blogspot one is dedicated to CRPS and everything I've done over the last few years for CRPS. And then I also have a Facebook page which is just Helena's Journey, or you can find me on Facebook and then find that. People really didn't like it, which led to not just bullying from people at university, but also bullying online. And
that is incredible.
What people say about what happens when you put yourself in the spotlight. I won't go into detail, but that's what happened to me. And one message is fine, 10 messages you're like, this isn't very nice. But when it gets to 30, it really does, like, regardless of what people say to you, you start thinking, are they true? You know? And it really does, like, start to affect your mental health.
Your mindset,
so I was, like, battling, like, two corners, because I was like, I know the reason why I'm doing it, and, it wasn't for my own good. Like, people thought, oh, she's doing it for the attention. But I was doing it because I know of the struggles that go on for other sufferers, and I was working with an MP and doing all kinds of things just outside of the media that people weren't aware of. And but unfortunately it did really affect me. And
as it would most people. For sure.
And my CRPS flared up. And one thing led to another, and unfortunately at the end of April, so I remember it really well, Monday the 30th of April, I got home from my lecture and my legs just went. And when I say they went, couldn't move, couldn't do anything. Now, my flatmates who are on different courses to me, they were all on half term, so there's no one in the flat. Anyway, one thing led to another. I didn't sleep Monday night. Couldn't move Tuesday. Wasn't getting much help, let's say, from the university. Although I don't, it's difficult in that situation. And they don't quite understand either. But then they're a university, so you can't really expect them to quite get it. But my mental health spiraled really, really badly, and unfortunately I took a knife to myself, is the honest answer. And the police got called. And luckily the police were, like, completely understanding. They were just like, you need some food, you need some sleep, we'll remove anything of vague harm out your way, like, you're not going to kill yourself, you're just desperate. And that was really useful. But unfortunately no one made me any food. One, didn't get any sleep Tuesday night. And everything just spiraled again. Like, as soon as someone left me, like, you're on your own in a room, there's no one about.
Thoughts kick in,
pain going through the roof. And I was running out of water and stuff, so I was getting quite distressed by this point. And on the Wednesday morning I sent my mum a text basically saying I need to kill myself, for various reasons that I'm not sure of, but she phoned the ambulance service, and of course they had, the call centre had logged that the police had been out the night before, so they sent a crew from Gloucester to Cheltenham, and this crew went above and beyond. Like, they were absolutely awesome. The short version is they spent 5 hours with me. One of them was an ex-student, so he went running around the university shouting at various members of staff saying, "You've really let this student down, you should have done this service should have kicked in." And he was like grabbing people and like saying, look at this situation, we've been called out. And then the other one was sat with me, and they were, you know, they would let me cry if I needed to, or they'd get me some pain relief, but they couldn't let me eat because they had to be certain that I hadn't taken something.
Right.
But they were letting me drink and stuff like that. And so yeah, they sat with me for 5 hours, and what they kept saying is, you know, they were getting bleeped by control, they were getting calls to go to RTCs and stuff like that, and they just kept going back to their control centre saying, no, we've got to stay with the patient. Now, if you ask those 2 paramedics, or you ask any paramedic, medically they did not have to stay with me, they could have left me, but they chose to wait until my mum got there. So
fair play to them.
So they went above and beyond.
Absolutely.
And they were talking to me, and they were like, look at all these amazing things that you've done. Like, this isn't worth ending your life over. So they just gave me that little bit of like hope. And some of the things they said to me, like, I'm not going to repeat them because it would be unfair to spread their wisdom without their permission. But, you know, when I'm having a bad day recently, those words come back to me, and I'm like, well, actually, those 2 paramedics said this, and it's true. So actually, it's not worthwhile getting into a state about it. Let's carry on. So I spent a week at home reflecting on what had happened, getting help. I got a lot of help, and I went back to university and finished the year.
Incredible.
Which I had 6 essays due.
Yeah. So you had a mountain of work to do.
Yeah, I did have a mountain of work to do.
Yeah.
Any university student would know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was having flashbacks because of, like, obviously going back to the same room and the same staff and all of that. So that was really difficult. But I did it, which was amazing. And then, obviously, my determination sort of kicked in again. And I was like, actually, what can I do to congratulate, like, the ambulance service, and obviously the series Ambulance on BBC One. Yeah. So I was aware of that, and I thought actually I could sort of raise more awareness and go into mental health, suicide, and link it to chronic pain and stuff like that. So as a way of saying thank you, I went to the local press and explained my story, which obviously they took straight away because it's quite dramatic. And they wrote a lovely article thanking the 2 paramedics and how amazing they'd been and how they'd gone out of their way for me and everything. And that got a really, really good response. So I was like, actually, people quite like this. Like this, people are, even though it was a particular ambulance service, people were then saying, but actually it's just the ambulance service. Like any ambulance service is an ambulance service. So I thought, actually, there's something, you know, I raise money every year, so why don't I see if they've got a charity or if there's an overarching charity. So I did a bit of research and found out that the ambulance service for Gloucestershire does have a charity. And so we organised a pub soup lunch. So all the proceeds of the free soups that are sold go to the charity. Now this pub, for any racing people, is literally in the middle between Fergal O'Brien and John Joe O'Neill. So it's real like race horse country. In a little thing called Kite. Who's
your favourite, Fergal or John Joe?
I'm gonna have to say Fergal.
Oh.
So we organised that. And then I got a bit carried away, so that turned into a bucket collection in Cheltenham Town Centre. Right. And I'm doing that with the MP and also South West Ambulance Service. And then I got invited by my friend Hannah Moore, who is she had the same condition as me. Let's just say she got a leg amputated. For her, this is really rare, but it took away the pain. And she's really sporty. So what does she do? She takes up triathlon. And this, within a year, was her first international start for GB. So she'd only done 4 triathlons before that. So I went up to support her at Eton Dorney at the end of May.
Yep.
And I got involved with the para-triathlon scene. I got to meet some amazing people. Like, I've met probably people that will be at 2020, 2024. And they said, oh, why don't you, organise some teams for the next triathlon festival? So I said, oh, that's a great idea. So I went and had a word with a few people and said, would you put a team in for the thing? And I said, yeah, we'll do that. And like, these are people in London, they don't get affected by the ambulance service for Gloucestershire. So I said, okay, we'll put you in. And then people kept asking me, and then I obviously got contacted by South West Ambulance Service, and then I had a few ideas, and I was like, well, can I manage all of this on top of my condition? So yeah, we're doing a soup lunch, a bucket collection, and the triathlon, where we're going to get teams, individuals, all to raise money for them. And hopefully the South West Ambulance Service will be there. People are asking for the paramedics and ambulances and all of that, but I can't promise any of that because they have to do it in their time off. They don't get paid to do that.
Yep.
And the aim is that we raise £5,000 for them, and there'll probably be more events across the summer that if I can come up with some ideas.
Where'd you get all this energy from?
Don't know. Not energy drinks.
Good.
I'll probably use the Great River Race again, which is the marathon, the River Marathon, as one of my events. So yeah, £5,000 is the aim. That would be £1,000 per hour that they spent with me. And if you want to divide it up, that's £500 per paramedic.
Yeah.
And hopefully, paramedics aren't trained in mental health. I think that point's been made before quite recently. They're not trained to deal with suicide attempts when there isn't a physical outcome. So what they did was completely out of their remit, but was completely necessary. So, like, you can't expect the paramedics to do that. And I think the ambulance service gets quite a lot of credit, but it doesn't get enough. And people don't realise how much they put up with in like false calls, people calling them out for silly things, but they also have to deal with mental health themselves, and they they deal with RTCs, road traffic collisions, if you're not the language, and they deal with heart attacks and broken legs and stuff, but someone that's having a mental health crisis isn't in their training. So just to like raise awareness that they are out there and they do understand, but at the same time we can't expect them just to do it. They get paid to do it, but we can't expect that of them, and they need to be recognised for that. So,
absolutely. And where can people find out where to make a contribution towards these great services?
So I tweet a lot. At 19 Helena 97. I will be tweeting the links like crazy. It'll be on my blogs, which I'll tweet as well, and I'll get you to tweet. And all the information. So I have a website that's dedicated to it, and that will have all my previous fundraising, my story, why I've chosen the South West Ambulance Service. So basically what I've just said. And it's a group fundraising page. It has my name on it, but that's just for logistical reasons. And everyone who's involved, from the individuals who do the triathlon to anyone that does the soup lunch to the bucket collection, everything will go on that page. And hopefully we will smash the £5,000.
I'm sure you will.
And hopefully someone, I don't know, they do all kinds of things with the money. So hopefully someone in the area will benefit. The paramedics don't get very much credit, so they will benefit and think, actually, we're going to keep doing this, and that will inspire other paramedics to do the same. So, like, me raising a bit of money goes a long way.
Absolutely.
And it makes a massive difference to me, because I feel like they've done something amazing for me. They've effectively saved my life, so £5,000 doesn't really match, but it seems the most reasonable target to set. It's quite an ambitious target, really, but we're going to get there.
Well, judging by the targets you always seem to set, you don't seem to go too low. You seem to set them very high. Amazing story. I mean, so you were in a kayak, it capsized, you banged your knee. Eventually, after a long period, you got diagnosed with CRPS. 2016, you were pretty much bedbound in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You've now gone on to finish university.
Yeah.
You're back rowing, and you're going to row 26 miles in a team. 21.6 in a team of 6. That is unbelievable. All with disabilities.
Yeah.
Credit to all of you. It's an inspirational story, really, and
yeah.
I hope a lot of people go onto Helena's blog and have a read of it, and please share it.
Any Arsenal fans, Arsenal players, you know.
Yeah.
I thought I'd drop that one in there.
Absolutely. Now, talking about Arsenal, who would your favourite player be at this stage?
Out of the players that are left,
yeah,
I do really like Mesut Ozil, obviously, for his playmaking.
Uh-huh.
But I do think the way Lacazette and Aubameyang have come in and settled into the team and kind of set the standard. You know, they chose to come over here.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't necessarily choose, I don't know. But, you know, the way they've just gone, this is our job, so we're going to score goals. There's been no mucking about, none of this, oh, it's the Premier League, they won't score for 10 matches. You know, I think Aubameyang scored nearly over 10 goals in the short time that he was with us. So, yeah, definitely a lot of respect to them. And I have a lot of respect for a lot of the players. Like, I wouldn't say I have a real favourite, you know, one that I stalk or anything. But I have a lot of respect. I've never known Arsenal without Arsene Wenger, so that's...
Were you Wenger in or Wenger out towards the end?
I was Wenger out for his own good, not because not because I don't think he's amazing for what he did, but I thought if he carries on and they do really badly, like, it's going to hinder what he has, so it's going to tarnish it. But I wasn't calling for him to go.
Yeah.
I was like, please just go on your own terms and not get sacked. But I have a lot of respect for Arsenal, and I know all the Premier League clubs do it, but for what they've done for Islington and what they do in the communities and the way they go into hospitals and give out presents and stuff, like, you know, they go the extra mile, and I know Arsenal definitely go the extra mile compared to a lot of clubs, and they set the standard for the other clubs. So I have, you know, the players do a lot.
Yeah.
Outside.
That seems to go unnoticed a lot of the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and that's really unfortunate. Yeah. You know, if you look at someone like Per Mertesacker, he's finished his playing career.
Yeah.
He's got shed loads of money. He could easily go back to Germany or something, or go and coach somewhere, but he took up the opportunity to go and coach the young guns. And, and I think that's big respect to him. Like,
absolutely.
That's not going to be a high-paid role.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly fancy role either. Okay, it's a step in the coaching direction for him. But, I have a lot of respect for that man. Like, he led us to 3 FA Cups. Okay, he was injured a lot of the time, but he always stepped up to the mark, not necessarily actually playing football, but in a captaincy role and bringing the team together. And he does a lot of work. A lot of the players do a lot of work for mental health and disability. So, you know, don't just judge them on what they do on the field. Okay, that's their job, but think about, before you judge them, think about A, what they're doing off the field, and B, maybe just take into account their personal circumstances, because living with a disability, people don't, and an invisible disability, people don't see that, and those players may have family issues. I know it's not really an excuse because they're at work, but just think about it. You know, that player might actually be carrying an injury and is running through pain, or isn't quite fully fit, but has gone out there determined to do his job, and just give him a bit of space. But obviously, if it's 10 games later and he's fully fit, and everyone's coming out saying he's got an ongoing injury, then give him stick. But I have a lot of respect for what Arsenal have done, and obviously seeing the development from Highbury to the Emirates and stuff like that. So
absolutely,
I do have a lot of respect for the club, and obviously I don't have much choice living in Highbury.
Especially with your dad, a big gooner.
Exactly, and my brother and stuff.
Top 6 next year, achievable.
Top 6, achievable, definitely. I like the new manager.
Yep.
I think it would be a massive disappointment if we don't make the top 6, and I think the players will have let themselves down if they don't make the top 6. I think Europa League is possible, because the new manager is a serial winner of the Europa League. I believe he won it 3 times with Sevilla. So Europa League definitely. I think we need to, as a club, focus on something. Rather than going, we're going to go for all of them. I don't think as a club we've got the strength and depth to do that at the moment. We've got the talent, but we don't have enough of it. Like, we've got a great set of 11 players if we've got them all fit and they're having a good day, but we don't have, I don't know how many's in the squad, 22? We don't have a squad of 22 that could come on the field and have an amazing match. So I think what they need to do as a club is focus on a particular 2 trophies. So in the same way that we kind of focused on the FA Cup and retaining that, they need to think about that. Are we ready to win the Premier League? Probably not. So can we win the Europa League? Well, we got pretty far this year. So I think that's a more reasonable target than saying, well, we've got to win the Premier League. I know that's what every fan
Helena,
wants.
I think we need to get you in there, being the manager. It's mindset.
I know every fan wants, and I want to win the Premier League. And I was too young to actually remember the last time we won the Premier League.
So was I.
I'm not saying we shouldn't aim for that and we shouldn't aim to do well in the Premier League, but I think generally Arsenal need to just sit there and focus, because if you look at Man City, if you look at Liverpool, okay, Liverpool haven't won anything until they won the Europa League, but they didn't just go and come in the top 2 or the top 3. They won. Man City, for example, won the FA Cup a few times, and that brought in some players. Obviously, they had a lot of money behind them, but you know, they started from somewhere else. And I think what's happened is Arsenal, tides change in sport.
They do indeed.
There's always a new champion, there's always a new up-and-coming club, and it's becoming a lot more competitive, which is great for the game, but we've got to remember that, yes, Arsenal were invincible, you know, we won the titles for under Arsene Wenger for 5-6 years, but tides are going to change and we're going to have to go through a period of change, but that doesn't mean that in 3 or 4 years' time we're back up there. So my advice to any Arsenal fan is don't lose hope, because we will be back.
Absolutely.
And that is a warning to any other fans. So just give the new manager a chance. I'd say give him till January.
DT troops, are you listening?
Yeah, just give him till January, definitely.
At least.
And I hope the board don't do what other clubs do and sack him after a season. Give him a chance, because he's a feisty character, the new guy.
He is
indeed. Can't actually remember his name, which is pretty bad.
Begins with a U. Going to tease you here. That's it. There you go.
He's a feisty character, and I think Arsenal fans will actually enjoy having a more
passionate kind of,
Well, I know we can't say Arsene Wenger wasn't passionate.
True.
He just didn't show it in the same way that the likes of Jose Mourinho or Pep Guardiola,
Ferguson were rampant,
running up and down the touchline and swearing at the players and all that. And I think we'll see a lot more of that on the touchline. And I think Arsenal fans will like that. You know, just seeing a bit more enthusiasm. Like, obviously we can't say Arsene Wenger wasn't enthusiastic, but just seeing that enthusiasm, and that will infuse the players, and then the fans will get behind them, and it doesn't all just happen like overnight.
Not at all.
I'm really excited for the new season.
Brilliant.
Hopefully I'll get to a few games.
Sure you will.
And I hope we sign a few decent players. We definitely need a few additions. But that doesn't mean we haven't got a good squad, and like some of those players, up and coming players, if you look at Iwobi and stuff like that, okay, he's not great, he's not amazing, but no one's amazing to start off with. Thierry Henry wasn't the most amazing player to start off with. So
same as Harry Kane.
Exactly, Harry Kane for years wasn't. Jamie Vardy wasn't.
A lot of clubs turned him down.
So, you know, just give some of those younger players a bit of space. If you look at Chamberlain, Walcott, okay, they didn't come out to be the players that maybe fans were promised. But they developed and they did become good players, and you've got to respect them for the development they made. And a lot of those players, especially the ones that come in at a young age, that must be extremely difficult. Okay, they're very talented, but they're still only 16, 17, some of them, and they're playing in front of 60,000 on a good day, possibly even more than that if they go to a bigger ground. So, you know, just think about...
Give them time, be patient.
Be patient, and that's the same for anyone with disability, mental health problem, learning disability, anything. You know, if you are vaguely aware of their external circumstances, you know, just give them space, give them time, and they might be having a bad day. So, you know, it's just important, and that's like the main message I'm trying to get out there, as well as awareness, is just everyone has potential. I mean, if you go back to the disability, if you look at Britain's Got Talent this year, that's a really good example. We had 2 comedians in the top 2, which was brilliant because that's a bit more variety than what we've had in the past. But the guy who came second had Asperger's, and I think he had something else as well. And obviously we had Lost Voice Guy, and that's absolutely amazing to see those 2 in the top 2 shining. And I'm sorry, but I don't agree with the sympathy vote. Yes, there will be people that have voted for them because of their disability, but it's not about disability, it's about their ability. And they're just the living proof that, you know, it's not all about football players and fully fit people. You know, there are people out there. Just look at their ability. Look at someone's ability, not their not ability. You know, look at what someone can do. And that's what I try and do with myself. That's why I'm so driven and determined. I always look at what I can do. And then work from there.
Pretty incredible. What a story. And hopefully this can inspire a load of people. And I think one of the main points that I've learned from it is don't judge a book by its cover, because you don't know what disability or what mental health problem somebody is walking down the street with. You know, you just can't see in someone's mind, and you can't see what's under their clothes or what's happening inside their body biologically. So just, you know, be nice to people. Don't be a shithead.
Be the same to the racing world as well.
Well, that's a different subject altogether. Twitter is a very fiery place on there. But a great story, Helena, and I'll be sure to check in with you pretty soon and see what you're up to. Well done, inspirational character, and it's an amazing story. Over and out.